Hello, so our names are Jonathan Jose González and Kevin Herrera, and this is going to be our presentation. So we decided to talk about the chapter number 17, which pretty much is the topic that we're going to talk about is the cognitive economy and mental words, which I found that is an interesting topic to talk about, right? So first, let's talk about, or let's say a little bit about introduction. So something that you should know is that sometimes languages are complex. So to translate from another language, from one language to another language might cause a mistranslation or misunderstand in the message. So that's why it's really important to look or to research some words, because as you know, for example, in Spanish we have different countries that they speak Spanish, and one meaning here in El Salvador can mean it can have a different meaning in another country like Guatemala or even like Argentina, Colombia, for example. That's why sometimes it's necessary to research more and provide the correct message, because if we translate depending in our knowledge, let's say that is something that happens a lot, we might translate something. So humans or translators, sometimes we translate because of our previous knowledge, because we know something about a topic, or because we have experienced some situation, and that's why it's normal that sometimes we make mistakes. So to avoid those mistakes, there are some things that we need to avoid, and to be specific, we're going to talk about two things that happens and that have happened to some translator. So let's talk about the decision making, right? Sometimes what happened is that we need to pick between one translation of a word or a one translation, for example, for a phrase. So what happens is that sometimes we need to pick between either or one of translation. And since language is really dynamic, sometimes it's difficult to pick, right? To select the correct message. So there are two issues that cause a mistranslation. The first one is because we translate, as I was previously saying, in our past experience. But what the author suggests in this case is that we consider the translation as a threat. So of course, if we have a threat, we're going to do everything in our hands to avoid that or to save a situation. And that's why it's important to provide the correct message, because if we mistranslate an idea, we might provide incorrect information, and this might cause even a death or a war. Imagine that we translate for a country and we mistranslate something, and they misunderstand that or understand in a different way. So this might cause even a war. So that's why it's important to research. So we have the first mistake that we translate because of past experience, and the other issue is the observation. So sometimes when we are researching, we look for specific translation and depending on the context. So if we have time, we organize our schedule, then it's going to be easier for us to find the correct translation. But there are some cases where there's a deadline or a short period of time to translate something. And that is when we might take bad decisions, since we need to do some research, and some translators use the easy way, and instead of looking for the context, they tend to translate because they think that is the correct way to translate it. So sometimes what they do basically is that they research like a little bit, and the first translation that they find, that's the one that they select. So this might cause, as I was saying, a mistranslation. For example, in talking about the chapter that we were reading, there are two examples. So there was a case of mistranslation in 2010 in a Finnish translation of a cookbook, where they translated the name of a mushroom because the translator thought in the English mushroom and in the English meaning of the name of the mushroom. And instead of saying the mushroom name for the recipe, the name that was included for the translation was the name of a poisonous mushroom. And of course, if they eat that poison mushroom, they might have died. So that's why you need to be careful, because you might cause it, like in extreme cases, the death of someone. And or just like a big confusion that the message that the person wanted to provide, we don't receive it, or people don't receive it, or misunderstood. And there is another case too, talking about Finnish translation too, where a word was translated, the name of a gun was translated as a firework instead of a gun. So that confused a lot of people, because in the language, the name or the word has the two meaning, firework or gun. So that's why it's necessary to understand the context, to understand the culture too, so we can provide the correct message. So that's pretty much my part. So we're going to continue. We're going to continue with my classmate Kadim. Vaya, pues empezar a grabar y...
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Herrera. I want to explain the translation mistakes folder. So the first point, I want to explain why people mistake for the keywords in translation. So it's not good that repeats the same information, that it has a consequence that your translation will be really very bad. So another hand, it has so the necessary that to learn the not to repeat for the information. So we have the brain that you need to mind really good possibility that no to that. So the frame you are going to not wait for to write down the keywords. Besides that, when you are going to explain, for example, if you have a speech, and for that reason, it helps you for the no to be a really nervous, no distraction, not to see another side. So the translation has to really be careful not to be a really bad for the translate for the Google translator for internet, and only that you can to read the books in the dictionary. The dictionary has for some words that is not the same information that when I want to say when you are doing this speech. So is so people like to be really bad for it when you are going to the same words. So it's very important to be really a really real person, to watch for the front for people, moving from the hands, so walking for the stage. For the last point, I think that the translation we need to really responsible and for the real strong. You can organize the ideas, the translation, because if you are going to be a really translator. So thank you so much. And my partner is give you for the conclusion.
Okay, just as a conclusion, basically, what the topic that we checked is really important. And as a translator, we need to be careful with that, with the information that we provide, because we don't need to translate just because we know some words, or just because we know what is the meaning of something, because in every country can have a different meaning. So it's really important to research about everything, so we can provide the correct message and people can understand the author message. So that was our presentation. So thank you for your attention.